Hi everybody and welcome back to the second installment of the Cosmos C700M overview, and actually in this one we're going to check some crazy and exotic layouts. My goal is to teach you step by step how to make use of this system, but of course feel free to stop the video, go back, do some zapping because it can seem kind of complicated at first glance, but trust me, it's very easy. Every step that I'm going to show you, of course, it's also in the manual, so if you own a C700M, feel free to take this out because this may turn out to be more useful than you think. And of course, make sure you have a screwdriver with you because this is the only tool that we're going to need. And if you want to make use of a suggestion from us, we recommend a Phillips Head 2 screwdriver, which is the best for this type of screws. And last but not least, make sure you have somewhere to put all the screws. So, if you're ready, I guess we can roll the intro and then we can start. Okay, I know we did it in part 1 already, but I think that a quick roundup of what comes with the chassis is needed before proceeding with the reassembly, starting by the motherboard tray. This piece is very interesting because it doubles as a test bench, and what makes this special is the mounting system on the back, which has a lot of screwable points on all the edges of the piece that you can use with the M port in order to change the orientation of the motherboard tray. This piece can be mounted in a traditional layout, with the ports facing the top of the chassis, rotated 180 degrees, and with the ports facing the bottom of the chassis. Moving forward, we have the back panel, which is of course removable, and this is the one that you get out of the box mounted on the chassis. As you can see, it has the cutout for all your motherboard connections, two little rubber grommets for any external cables that you want to put inside the system, and of course a pre-installed 140mm fan. The other one that you get in the box is this one, which as you can see has no cutout at all for the motherboard because this is what you want to use in case you want to go for a chimney style, ports facing up or ports facing down. And of course you can still use the two rubber grommets for your motherboard cables and for your GPU cables. Moving on, we find the fan brackets, and these guys are super cool because they can be mounted both on top, on the front and at the bottom of the system. You get 2 included and you can go up to 3. In the description you will find a link to our online store where you can find all of these accessories to enhance your experience with the C700M. Moving on, we find the HDD bracket, which as you know from part 1 is not only an HDD bracket. Why? Because as you can see it has the M port implemented on both edges, and what this allows you is that you can mount a lot of little accessories such as the little cable covers or even our redesigned modular GPU bracket. Moving on, we find the PSU cover, which as you may know from part 1 is divided into 2 pieces. This is to allow you more flexibility when you want to go for some crazy layouts. Another thing that is included is of course the PSU bracket, which as you can see has a 2-piece design, and this allows you to mount the PSU at whatever height you want, and of course you can also go vertical. Last but not least, the included toolbox, which has a lot of screws inside, and by the way, all the screws in this system are the same, so don't worry about losing them, and it has a lot of cool little accessories to improve your building experience. Okay, so if you ever played with Lego or Meccano or something similar, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this, because the concept and the mounting system basically works the same way. As you may know, in the C700M, the standard layout out of the box has the motherboard in this position and the PSU here. But what if we want to go for something more old school with the PSU on top? It's pretty simple, we just need to move the locking bar of the motherboard down. There are a couple of screws on the back, which we can take out with a screwdriver, and the motherboard lock comes out. And we also move this little piece here on the frame up to this position. Now at this point we can take our PSU and we can put it in place like this. Then we take our back panel and we mount it back onto the chassis like this. Now, let's check how everything looks. And it's done. As you can see, this is how you move the motherboard around and how you move the PSU around. But what if we want to go even crazier and we want to rotate our motherboard tray? We just take it out and we flip it. Like this. Now, if we want to flip it on the other two sides, all we need to do is change the position of the mounting system on the back of this. We just take it out again. And here, as you can see, we can flip the position of the rubber pegs that mount on the M port bracket to the other side. So we unlock the other two positions. Another thing that I'm going to do now, just to make my life easier, is I'm going to remove this part, especially because we're going to use the vertical GPU mounting a lot, so I don't really need support for my GPUs mounted on a motherboard. And here we go. As you can see, I flipped the positions of the rubber pegs, which now are here on the lower part and on the right part. And now, if before I was able to do traditional layout and ports up, this allows me to have this layout and this layout. Et voila! Now, of course, we can make use of the alternative rear panel. And as you can see, now we have unlocked a lot of possibilities with this layout. The first one, of course, is having the cable management on this side. So if you have braided cables, you can have a colorful zone at the back part of the chassis. You can have your main water cooling area in this part, so you can have a very unique water cooling layout. And yeah, you can make use of the vertical GPU here, you can mount your GPU on the mid plate, which is now reversed, etc, etc, etc. I guess that here creativity is the only limiting factor. So let's stop 1 second now. If you have any questions about what I did up until this point, feel free to write in the comments, because I know I'm moving fast, but if I would stop myself to analyze every detail, this video would be like 10 hours long. So feel free to write me in the comments. Now, let me take everything off and I'm going to teach you how we can reverse the entire system on the other side. Okay, so as you can see, I've unmounted everything and I took out the locking bracket and the M port bracket for the motherboard tray. Why? Because I'm going to put them back on the opposite side. Beware, this goes at the 10th hole from the nearest corner all the time, because you need that kind of dimension to mount the motherboard tray. And this, of course, goes in the back part of the frame at the same height that you had before, if you want to replicate the same layout. Otherwise, feel free to explore. Oh, and another thing that I didn't mention before is that this thing can also be bought on our CM store, which I'm going to link in the description of this video. And actually, if you have two of them, you can consider putting the motherboard in the middle of the system with one bracket here and one bracket on the other side. Ta-da! There you go. Another layout, PSU on top, motherboard in a standard position. Beware that if you go this route, you're going to have your I/O cables in this position, so you need to make use of the alternative rear panel. If you want, you can also use the mid plate, which for sake of efficiency I didn't mount now, but the mid plate helps a lot with cable management, especially in this kind of situation where the PSU is on top. And yeah, for the rest, again, we have a lot of water cooling potential in the bottom area, in the front area as well. And this is something that you can show to your friends to confuse them, maybe. I don't know. Let's move forward. I think we can even go crazier. Here, again, another quick and easy layout, and actually this one will facilitate a lot the routing of the riser cable because it's in line with the PCI ports of the motherboard. And actually, what do you think about switching everything 90 degrees? Let me show you how. Pretty simple, right? I mean, you got the concept, you got how everything moves, and I think that we can stay here the whole day playing around with this, because actually it is fun. I mean, it is super fun. Oh, and I was almost forgetting, if we mount this guy back on the motherboard tray, and this guy, as you can see, is basically the shroud for the motherboard connections and the PCI devices in the standard layout, there is something very cool that we can achieve. Let me show you. Dual vertical GPU. I mean, we can do so many things still. We can put a pump here in this compartment below the PSU. We can even turn the PSU so it's vertical and you don't see it. And we can close everything with the mid plate. So this part is completely sealed. We can have a triple fan radiator setup in the front. We can have a triple fan radiator setup in the bottom. Of course, you need to learn it. You need to understand it. But once you get a hold of it, man, it's so satisfying. And of course now everything is flipped. The power connector is here, this is the front of the chassis, but we can also do the same exact thing on the other side. And I don't know if I mentioned before, but of course the side panels are interchangeable with each other. So you can flip the tempered glass side panel from one side to the other and vice versa. And yeah, actually I've got an example here of a very similar layout, but in a different flavor. So let me show you. Okay, so here, as you can see, this is another example of a very similar structure. Basically now the motherboard is turned 180 degrees, and instead of mounting the GPU on this part of the chassis, the HDD bracket is covered with the little covers, so all the cable management on the back is hidden. And we have two huge triple fan radiators, one in the bottom and one in the rear. And yeah, this is something that you can only achieve with the Cosmos C700M. Again, the PSU is in this position behind the PSU cover, is mounted vertically. And in this situation, if you want to, I don't know, put the cherry on top of the cake, you can also mount your pump/reservoir combo on your mid plate. Here I cut out a piece because I have the radiator in this position, so there was a bit of modding going on. And if you want, you can hide it inside the PSU cover, like this. Done. So as you can see now, our pump and reservoir are hidden behind the front panel. And as you can see, they're super accessible. You can just take out the front panel, drain your loop, and do your maintenance, do whatever you want. So yeah, I've got one last layout, which I think we can call the lazy but effective layout. And I think that you're going to like this one. finally, here we are. As you can see, dual GPU configuration. Both of them are vertical. Of course, there may be some limitations with the SLI bridges and stuff, but with Crossfire you're able to do whatever you want. As you can see here, I've used the vertical GPU mounted that comes with the C700M, and for this one I've used our master accessory graphics card holder kit. As you can see, it's a crazy layout. I didn't spend much time on this one. This is just to show you the potential of the C700M. And by the way, we're going to open a discussion on our subreddit, which is going to be linked in the description of this video. I'm going to post all the pictures of all the layouts that we have done in this video, and I'm going to provide you with a description of the steps that are required to replicate them if you want. Let's chat there, because Reddit is an awesome place, and especially if you bought a C700M, I'm very curious to see what you're doing with it. So yeah, guys, I hope this was fun. I know it was a long video, but kudos to you if you stayed with me for the whole time. And again, thank you for watching. If you have any question, please write me in the comment or in the subreddit discussion. For now, well, I guess I'll see you in the next one.